I see future home buyers making huge financial mistakes before they ever even buy a home, and they don't even realize it. So if you've been thinking about buying a home in the future, or even if you've just started looking, make sure to stick around to the end of the video, because I'm going to be dropping some massive points that are costing people thousands of dollars in Northeast Arkansas. And of course, if you want to talk to me personally about this in depth, all my information's down below. You can book a one-on-one call with me, or you can send me a message and we can coordinate something. My name's Talon. I'm a local realtor here in Northeast Arkansas, a multi-million-dollar producer, and our team specializes in making your dreams become reality. But there could be a lot of things costing you or actually preventing you from stepping into what you want to be called, which is a future home buyer. Now, most of the time my videos are all like really edited and really fancy. And what I wanted to do is just kind of be really raw and authentic with you guys. So in today, I'm going to be using a lot of visual illustrations. I've actually got a really nice PowerPoint presentation kind of prepared to you to kind of walk you through some points as we go along in this video. Now look, I see this all the time with buyers here in Northeast Arkansas. They think that they are 100% financially prepared to buy a house. And then all of a sudden something unexpected happens. And it's not usually what people think. It's not usually their credit score. It's not their income, but it's their approach to the real estate market that gets them in trouble. And there are a few mistakes that I see over and over and over again. So this first point that I want to make is hopefully to help a first-time home buyer that's kind of been looking at the market, maybe never done this before, you've been talking to your parents about where to get started. And I want to go over what might be a giant mistake that you've not even considered or nor even thought to be a problem, which is people, or buyers more particularly, often look at a monthly payment rather than just what the total cost of the asset is. Buyers shop usually based on what can I afford monthly, right? This is why we look at our monthly payments whenever we talk to that loan officer, whenever we're talking or when we're looking online and it says the estimated payment is $1,500 a month. Well, here's the problem with that. You might get by with this number, but oftentimes there is a lot of actual problems that are involved with projecting or trying to predict your own estimated monthly payment. But oftentimes people will look at a monthly payment cost and forget to actually look at their total cost. Total interest paid over a certain amount of time, right? Or what we call PMI, private mortgage insurance, which is a cost associated with borrowing a certain amount of money with a certain type of loan, etc. And then, of course, you've got taxes and insurance obviously increasing over a period of time. So yes, your monthly payment might be $1,500 right now, but because you didn't pay attention, because you didn't talk to a professional in 3 years, your insurance and taxes could increase another $150 every single month, all because that's how real estate works. And because you didn't know to even look at this, you didn't take this into consideration. Why you want to pay attention to the total cost is because if you get a great deal on the total cost of the property, which is what you purchase it for, well, real estate usually appreciates, meaning it goes up in value. But if you overpay for a property, and just because your payments are affordable, but all of a sudden now you've overpaid for this asset, well, in the event a couple years down the road, you perhaps outgrow it, you want something newer or bigger, or maybe you want to downsize, all of a sudden you're stuck with an asset that you genuinely did not equate to sell. Now you're upside down on the property. You have to sell it for less than maybe what it could have been worth, when you could have not just shopped price per month, but rather the total cost of the asset. Small payment differences can cost you thousands long term. All right, the second point that I want to make today in this video is people that are waiting that don't have a plan. It's okay to wait, but it's not okay to wait without a plan. What I mean by that is people say, well, I'm just going to rent until rates drop. While rent is actually continuing, and what that means is your renter or your landlord could increase the purchase or the rent for the place that you're renting and occupying right now. Therefore, you're waiting for rates to drop while your rent might be going up on a place that you don't even own, right? Next thing you know, also, by the time that rates come down, guess what? The price of the properties go up in value. That's just how the market is affected whenever rates drop. And then, of course, life doesn't pause. Everyone wants to be a homeowner, right? And if you don't, I highly doubt that, because why in the world would you be watching this video? But my point in this part is waiting. When you wait, you must have a plan. Otherwise, you are not waiting. You're actually just wasting time. But the smart approach, if you're going to be a smart home buyer in 2026, it is to create a buying strategy. This is so important rather than just kind of going at it blindly. And you should track market conditions. You should be talking with a local realtor, talking about, hey, what's the market doing? What are rates like today? What could my payment be on this specific house? And of course, when you buy, make it make sense for you. So many people buy trying to keep up with the Joneses. Well, I got to have this new and shiny house. Otherwise, my mom and dad or my brother or my cousin or my girlfriend ain't going to like me no more. At the end of the day, the numbers will never lie. And I think a home should be a blessing, not a curse. So look, here's the main punchline. Waiting without a plan often costs more in the long term. So before you keep sitting on the sidelines, disqualifying yourself, I would suggest creating a strategy, talking with a professional, and getting a game plan in place for the future. All right, now this next step is a big one, and you might feel either uncomfortable with it or you might disagree depending upon who you are, what your experience is, and what your profession is. Oftentimes people go to the bank and they will get what's called approved for a mortgage, right? But what they don't often consider is what they're going to feel comfortable with the payments, with the purchase price of that property. What I mean by that is a lender might say, hey, your debt to income ratio is perfect for maybe a $300,000 house, right? But the payments on that house might be $1,900, right? Again, these are just fake numbers, right? But all of a sudden, now you have a maximum amount of property that you can purchase, and you know roundabout what your payments are going to be. Now, what you don't really consider is when life might get a little tricky, job positions might fluctuate, life circumstances happen, and now all of a sudden you've stretched yourself financially at this $1,900 a payment, right? But all of a sudden, when life hits, now all of a sudden that $1,900 feels almost like $3,000. Your monthly lifestyle fluctuates, right? Your debt and spending habits need to be dialed back, and you cannot go to the grocery store and casually spend all the amount of groceries that you need anymore because your budget is saying, whoa, dude, you overpaid for a property, or you kind of bit off more than what you could chew, and now all of a sudden you've got to dial back your entire lifestyle. Me and my family, we wanted to live in an affordable house that we could comfortably afford, where we can also still have a lifestyle that we enjoy. We don't want to be working around the clock to just pay for our house. We want to be able to work and then provide money for a house to live in, but also a money that would, number one, work for us for in the future, so investing, and then also allow us to travel and vacation and go on trips with family and do extracurricular things, right? I cannot do that if I've overbid on a property and went with my max allowable loan from the bank, right? And if you're working with a good loan officer, they're going to tell you, hey, look, you're approved for this amount, but really, if you want to be comfortable, your payments are going to be around this price at $250,000, which might set you up for way better success down the road. And this also allows for what we call financial flexibility, right? If you want to max out the payment on your property, go ahead. But if you want to be able to live comfortably and perhaps be able to deploy extra money towards an investment property down the road, or you can spend more money in your Roth IRA down the road and set yourself up for future, at the end of the day, that was never a bad decision made by anyone that ever did it. And so what I would caution a first-time home buyer is, hey, if the bank says you're approved for $300 and $1,900 a month is the max that you would want to pay, I would probably dial it back, because you can still, especially around, Northeast Arkansas, you can get a really great home for $250,000. You can get a really good home for $200,000 as well here in town. And you can get your closing costs paid if you negotiate correctly. Half these homes have brand new roofs, brand new HVACs, brand new water heaters, brand new windows. You can find an amazing property at $200,000 in Northeast Arkansas. You just got to be patient and willing to look at something that might be less than what your top dollar budget may be. And this is what I tell people. Just because you can buy it doesn't mean you should. Now, look, Dave Ramsey, everyone knows him, it seems like. And obviously, there's points that I love that he mentions. And then there's other points that I don't necessarily agree with, right? But one thing that he tweeted one time, and I liked it. He said, just because something is on sale doesn't mean you have to buy it. And so, same way applies whenever you're shopping for homes. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean that you need to buy it. All right, this next one really oftentimes confuses people because they hear people like me on social media or their favorite loan officer saying, hey, you can buy a house with 0% down if you qualify. And what they mean by that, what they think by that is, that means I can buy a house with no expenses at all. I can have $0 in my bank account and booyah, baby, we're buying a house. Unfortunately, if you have any sense at all, if you know anyone that's ever bought a house, that's usually far from the truth. And so I want to expose the lie that you might have been telling yourself that says 0 down doesn't actually mean no real cost. And so 0 down is a great option for most first-time home buyers. What people often think is that you don't need any money to buy a house. Well, you do. You got to send bank statements. You got to have a good DTI. You got to have a relatively decent credit score. Now, I'm not saying you have to have thousands of dollars in the bank. I'm not saying you have to have an 800 credit score. I'm not saying that you have to, have no debt at all to qualify for one of these loans. That's not what Talon is saying. What I'm saying is that there's a little bit more that goes into it. And of course, with that brings me to my next point is people think that 0 down means easy to buy. Oftentimes, it's these loan programs that you have to jump through the most hoops and hurdles to actually get. You have to be a qualifying buyer, meaning that you can't make over a certain amount of money. You can't have a too big of debt to income ratio. And so let me talk about some reality with the cost that perhaps might be associated with buying a home with 0 down. Oftentimes, people forget they have what's called closing costs. Now, in a market like this, when interest rates are not 2.5% anymore, if you negotiate properly, you can actually get the sellers to pay for your closing cost. Meaning, if you have $4,000 to $8,000, if you write a compelling offer with the right terms in place, you can actually get the seller to pay these for you. Meaning, you give them X amount of money, they pay all that expense upfront for you out of their proceeds, which is very important. Next thing is something that you need to consider is this inspection and appraisal, right? Most loan officers are either going to charge you an application fee or you're going to have to pay for the appraisal whenever it's time to get that done. And of course, for your protection, we like to say, get a home inspection. And so, inspections around here usually are around $350 to $500 depending upon who you use. And appraisals are usually about that $500 as well. So up front, if you want to set yourself up for success whenever buying a house, you need to budget definitely to get a home inspection for your protection. Hey, that's pretty catchy. And then, of course, an appraisal, because that's what's going to be required from the bank. And then lastly, which is moving expenses. I hate to break it to you, Bubba, but just because I'm your realtor, I'm probably not going to have time to be able to come help you pack boxes and move for free. I do love you, but not that much. And so one of the things people often overlook is moving expenses. Unless you're planning on packing up everything yourself, and unless you have a U-Haul truck already that you own or a trailer, right? There are moving expenses. Rather, you have to pay your lease where you're renting right now, or you have to pay it off, or you've got to rent a U-Haul truck, right? Or you've got to pay a moving company to help you move if you don't have people to help you already. Those things can start adding up very quickly. And so my last point with this is 0 down does not mean 0 cash, right? And I think I've made that point very clear. All right, and my last point that I want to make in today's video is something that I see all the time. And what they do is they actually confuse looking on Zillow for strategy. They think, well, hey, whenever I'm ready to go buy a home, all I got to do is go download an app called Zillow, and it's going to take care of all my problems for me. I'm going to be able to see every little thing about the property, how much they paid for it, what my estimated payments are, a realtor to work with, the houses that I want to shop for, et cetera, et cetera. But let me tell you, Zillow should not be in replacement of strategy. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in depth right now. What happens a lot of time is people click request info whenever they see a home on the market that maybe catches their eye. Now, pause there and let me say, oftentimes people start looking at homes well before they even know if they qualify for one. I cannot tell you how many people that I have spoke to that have said, yeah, I've been looking at homes for the past 6 months, day in, day out, spending hours and hours of the week looking at these beautiful homes. We get them connected with a lender, all for the loan officer to say, Taylon, they're not qualified. Now, I don't know about you, but that kind of stings a little bit. That would kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I tell people all the time before you ever even start shopping for homes, make sure you're qualified with the bank. I do not want to waste my precious time, and I don't say that arrogantly. I think time is valuable. We cannot buy more time. And I don't want to waste my time looking for something that I cannot afford. I'm not going to go drive around and look at the Lamborghinis over here on the car lot. Yeah, it might be cool to do just for fun when you're with your buddies, but I'm not going to go to the car dealership every single day and drive around and look at those cars if I know I'm never actually going to buy one or be able to buy one. Right now, you might be able to buy a Lamborghini, great, but brother here ain't doing that right now. And so nor do I have a desire to buy a Lamborghini because we're in Arkansas and it snows, it rains a lot, we have really bad weather, and that car would probably absolutely be trashed by the end of it. 1 year being in Arkansas. Anyways, I'm digressed. But my point though is a lot of times people are shopping well before they even know that they have the money. Now, if you're setting in a really good financial opportunity or position, it's a different story, right? But if you think, yeah, man, I've missed some payments on this stuff and my credit score is probably not the best, at the end of the day, talking with a loan officer might be the biggest bang for your buck. Now, what oftentimes is whenever you're on Zillow and you finally see that house and you're thinking, man, I want to tell Taylon about this. I want to share this information with Taylon. That way he can show me this house and we can maybe go look at it and write an offer on it and I can be in it in the next 30 to 40 days. Here's what happens a lot of times, and people don't even know this is happening. They go on Zillow and they click request information. And then all of a sudden, your data gets sold. Your name, number, email address, and then all of a sudden, some random knucklehead agent is giving you a call saying, hey, this is blah, blah, blah with ABC Realty, and we saw that you wanted to go look at this property. Next thing you know, you're talking with a random person that you never actually intended for them to call you when you wanted to work with your agent that you've known and trust for all this amount of time that's made videos like this to help educate you for whenever the time is right. And now all of a sudden you go down this rabbit trail of this pushy salesperson trying to finagle their way into your world where they can get a sale. Now, look, I'm not trying to bash on anybody that, uses Zillow for leads, but at the end of the day, before you click request information, let me tell you, Zillow does not replace strategy. There is a lot more that you need to consider before you ever even request information on a property. The way I recommend people do this is I suggest that you work with a trusted realtor. Start having a conversation with a realtor that you trust. If somebody is in your corner, perhaps you've known them for a long period of time and they are a reputable agent that's actually doing deals and not just one or two a year, I would send a message to them. I would hop on a call with them and say, hey, look, I'm thinking about buying a home in the next couple months. What should I do? And a good realtor is going to say, hey, look, you can use Zillow, but if you see something in particular, screenshot it, send it to me. I would love to have an opportunity to show you those houses rather than you just ended up working with somebody that you don't really know, right? And then what I tell people is use a connected home search app. Apps like Zillow, Realtor.com, you name them, they're out there. There's a million out there. They are in the business of taking your information and selling it to somebody else. And so, ironically, I have an app that I tell all of our clients to use. It's free. I don't sell your information, and it makes communicating with me super easy. I'll actually link that in the description below. That way, if you want a free app that you can look at all the newest and the greatest properties that just hit the market in your price range, you can download it for free, and you can actually directly message me from there and say, hey, I like this home, and it gets sent directly to me, so you can get a screenshot me or nothing. But anyways, I digress. If you're looking for a cool app like that, I always recommend our people to use it. I personally use it for my properties. And so definitely take a look at that. But this is what happens is get real guidance. This is the most important part. Talking with a real estate professional is not only going to set you up for success, but also it's going to make it super easy to get from point A to point B, point B to point C, point C to point D. The realtors also are going to help you get insurance quotes, get things lined up with the bank, make sure that you're going and looking at property that are within your budget, sending you new listings that are just hitting the market. And of course, they're going to be doing a lot of things behind the scenes that you don't even want to know about, paperwork out the wazoo, setting things up between you and the agent, negotiating, right, making sure that you're legally taken care of and represented and insured. And so this is what I tell people: control your experience instead of making it being sold. And so instead of having your experience be able to be sold by a company just because that's what they do and that's what everybody else does, I want to be able to help have some control of my own. If I'm buying a house, I don't want somebody telling me what I have to do. I don't want somebody forcing me to work with somebody I don't want to work with. I want to be able to pick and choose the path that I take. And if I don't know the path that I take, I want to be able to rely on somebody that I genuinely trust and know to get the job done. So if you've got some value out of this video, I'm going to leave you with something that you can take away. Number one, the app in below is something that you can download for free. We do not sell your information. We don't cold call you 40 times a day to try to get you to do something. If you've been looking at homes and you don't want to feel pressured by a company and be getting random phone calls, the link is in the description. Download it for free, use it, and then when the time's right, all my information is on there where you can actually contact me at your convenience when you're ready. And of course, if you have questions about, hey, which loan type might I be best with? Or do you have a loan officer that you recommend? Or hey, what kind of price range am I looking at, Taylor? What I can do is I can connect you to a loan officer. That way we can get the ball rolling and maybe help you figure out what the next steps look like. So if you don't already have a realtor and you want to talk with me, you can either book a one-on-one call or contact me or text me. It doesn't matter. All my information is down below, and I would love to have an opportunity to earn your business. So if you've liked this video, make sure to like it, subscribe, and comment something that you learned. And hopefully, if you've liked this type of content or video style, let me know in the comments as well, because I might be doing more of them just like this. I think raw and authentic goes a long way, and that's kind of what, and rather who I am anyways. And so hopefully you've got some value out of this video. I do appreciate you sticking to the end. If you have any questions, let me know. My name's Taylor here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, surrounding Northeast Arkansas, or serving Northeast Arkansas areas with Keller Williams Realty.